All right, folks. It's our pleasure to welcome our panelists for the instructors portion of this event today. Nicole Weller, LPGA, PGA head teaching professional at the Landings Club in Savannah, our 2013 PGA National Junior Golf Leader. Donna Lerner, LPGA, founder of the Donna Lerner Golf. Jeff Burry, Jeff will be here in a minute. Brendan Elliott, the owner of Little Linksters LLC. Kay Cornelius, LPGA Director of Instruction at Ocotillo Golf Resort, 2012 LPGA National Junior Golf Leadership Award recipient. Don Law, PGA, Don Law Golf Academy, 2012 PGA National Junior Golf Leader. And Jeff Nelson, our teaching professional here at Druid Hills Golf Club, 10 plus years of service here at Druid Hills. Welcome to the panel. You know, in talking about these awards, when I started looking at these names, there wasn't any way I could take the whole day going through the awards that these folks on these panels have won. I mean, it's really, I mean, these are the cutting edge names of golf in junior golf and in golf instruction. So if I've omitted, and I know I have, lots and lots of awards. I mean, really appreciate you all being here. To get the ball rolling, I'm going to ask some general questions, and then we'll turn around into some specific ones in a second. A big-time general question: what is the best way to start a solid instructional youth golf program? Where does it begin?
Okay. They voted I have to speak first. I think one of the best ways to start a really solid program is to set your sights on the people who you have involved in front of you. I think if you have lofty goals, that's great, but I think the first thing you have to do is engage one-on-one, make everyone feel welcome, make everyone feel special, and never ever forget that you were once one of those little people. And they relate to you based on how you relate to them. And I think having a good plan that's based on fun and is easy for them to participate in, that doesn't require that they lug a lot of equipment initially, I think that makes them want to come back and see what's there next time. Always leave a little bit for them to come back for next time. And I think that's a great start. That's a foundation.
I think a lot of it starts like most of the things do in your life. I think it starts with an attitude. If you're building a junior program, what are your goals and missions, and what is your mindset? Do you really want to welcome these kids and their families? Do you have the support of either the facility that you're at, or do you control the shots at your facility? And what's it all going to be about? Once you've determined that, your business plan is to surround yourself with people who are like-minded. And someone told me once a great example. If you go out for dinner with your family, and it's a place that you go often, and at the door you're greeted and everybody says, "Hi, how are you?" and "Come on in," that's nice, and you like going there. But it's quite different if you go there and they say, "Good evening, Susie. How are you? We've got your favorite table ready. We've got your beverages that we know you like, and you're really welcome." You know that going in. So the mindset of what you are about to produce is going to determine to a great extent how well it's going to work. So that's how we started.
GSGA for organizing. I'm honored to be on this panel, and I would say you have to look at your market in your area, maybe find what your niche might be, look at what your capabilities would be at your facility. I go to a lot of wonderful conferences and get so many ideas. I think I already have 8 to 10 pages like Kay has already from this morning, but what will work and how will it work at your facility? So when I came to the Landings and inherited the program, we just started with little ideas here and there, take ideas and streamline them, and since then have really grown our ages 2 through 6, and I think that is exploding for us. So I think finding what you have, doing a little SWOT analysis, so to speak. I would concur with Don and Donna as far as seeing who you have on the staff to help out, a volunteer base, and we are always wonderfully available to help you with ideas to get started and help you evaluate your program in your area.
Well, I remember in 1995 when I was a brand new teacher, I had a vision of keeping kids off the computer. I guess the internet was still not quite there yet, but computer games, and they were starting to stay a little bit more inside and not outside playing with friends like we did when we all grew up. So I was a brand new teacher, and I wanted to work with kids, and Dr. Debbie Cruz had gotten a grant from the USGA, and she had established on the Native American reservation near my home in Phoenix, Native American Golf Excellence Program, and I did quite a few jobs for low pay or for free when I was a brand new teacher. And those kids actually at that school, I drove quite a long way to go there, and we had caiman balls, and we had little grass mats we dragged out onto a dirt field. And I taught that program for a couple semesters, and I thought, well, what if those kids didn't necessarily want to do golf, but I made it fun for them, and she gave me some ideas to keep the teaching light and simple, and that was my really first foray into working with juniors. And I thought, well, what if I started this at my home club where kids really wanted to be there? They were choosing to do golf. And so I started with about 6 kids in my little junior program, and that was the year 2000. And of course, I had to get the blessing from the management at Ocotillo. We were a pretty fancy 27-hole resort facility at the time, so brand new clubhouse and $100 green fees. So getting that off the ground in the beginning felt a little bit intimidating for me, but I got it started, and here it's going strong 13 years later. And we do an after-school program from November through May, and then we do our summer programs in the heat of the Arizona summer. But established that during that time, and I also got involved with the LPGA USGA Girls Golf Club in Phoenix. So that was how I got my start, and really had a vision of working with kids and enjoyment for myself and a way to make a living and just a win-win all around. So thank you.
Sounds great.
And thank you to Chad again for having us. This is great.
Well, I'd just stay out of the way and put smart people in a room and watch what happens. Jeff?
Well, I know for us, a couple things that I thought were instrumental for us was, number one, we didn't have any programs. We literally had none. So myself, Chad, Bill, sit in a room and talk about what we can do. And I think one key is making sure you don't do too much right away. We had 20 ideas. We were ready to do all 20. Unfortunately, we weren't prepared to do all 20, so we had to pick 2 or 3. And really, if you're trying to build a program, you got to start small. I mean, as much as we want to grow it just like that, it has to go small. And you got to be prepared for those little things first, and then build each year as we go. And then the second thing I would say is the relationships that we built. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I would call a member and say, hey, Mr. Jones, we've got a clinic that we just started on Tuesday, Thursday for the kids ages 4 to 6. So a lot of phone calls being made, a lot of relationships being built that way. So that's what I would say.
I'm going to piggyback on what Nicole alluded to about just knowing your market first and foremost, kind of where we got started. And I'm not facility-based. We take things to daycares and to city parks and to YMCAs, and we're strictly with kids 3 to 8 years old. And that came from looking at the market and saying, you know what, there's soccer, there's baseball, there's karate, and all these other programs for these age groups at all of these particular locations, but there's nothing for golf. So we found that huge gaping hole in the marketplace, and quite a niche in and of itself, and that's kind of where we got going. And then on an industry-wide thing, we think back to the first slide that you showed about how we're losing golfers and some of those demographics. We're missing a whole age group. Some of those demographics for juniors is defined by juniors are starting at 6 or 7 years old, and there's a huge segment there of kids that are being introduced to other things early on where golf's just not part of that. So that's kind of where we started with our thinking, with our program was, let's get this group that's not part of the segment defined as a junior golfer, and it's worked wonders for us, and I think it's something that every club, and I know that a lot of people up here are incorporating those ages into their programs.
Well, it's been pretty innovative. At Druid Hills until about a year and a half ago, there was a hard line age of when a junior golfer could begin, to even show up on the range, go out with their parents, and, fortunately, that's changed, and it's now conduct-based. There's kids that are 3 and 4 that are ready to go and handle themselves beautifully on the golf course, and you've got 9, 10-year-olds that don't have any business being within a mile of the place. But the development of that, making it conduct-based and getting these young kids out, especially the instructors on this panel, innovative, cutting-edge ways of getting those young kids out. Can you expand a little bit on those super youth programs, 2 to 4, 5 age groups? Brendan, Nicole?
If anybody follows Nicole on Facebook, you can see all the numerous tools and colorful things that they utilize. And one of the gentlemen that spoke early this morning talked about Dollar General being one of the favorite go-to places for instructing youth, and it's the same with the younger kids too. One of the things that we did early on was, just like any good marketing 101, business 101, is you got to find something that'll capture the attention of especially these very young kids. And that's kind of what we did with we created and spent a lot of time on developing characters that would be kid-friendly and just get the attention of the kids. And colors were a big part of that, just like a lot of the equipment that we use, it's color-based and things that would draw the attention of children. And it just starts with basic things like that. And I think with anything that we do, whether it's junior programs for women, it's about branding and it's about marketing and making it something that would appeal to whatever segment you're working with.
In the PGA, they have a state aid for it everywhere. I go to those conferences because I like to watch those teachers and see what they're doing and how they work with kindergartners, first graders, and see how we can relate it to golf. The fascinating thing about going to those conferences is you see every other sport, all the other industries represented, and very, very rarely do you see golf. Golf is not there. And I'm addressing that, Chad, or not, but I think the teachers are, they're remarkable. They understand child development. They understand that, of course, young ladies mature faster than young men. They understand that different learning styles. They understand, but biggest thing of all is I think they manage that environment so well, and there's lessons to be learned I know me as all golf professionals should learn from them.
Yeah, thank you. Don, I understand golf in schools is one of your passions as well. Can you speak to that as well as game-based learning and where that fits in?
Sure. In the spring, every spring we try to go and visit all the elementary schools within a 25-mile radius. And that can be a pretty taxing experience, to say the least. We try to see the kids in some lower socioeconomic environments with an opportunity to expose them to something they would not have otherwise had a chance to be exposed to. And we generally will invite those kids on scholarship to join us in our programs. When we go to the schools where the kids are a little more apt to be exposed to the game, we have a little different approach, but we still try to make it game-based. And U.S. Kids has been wonderful in sharing all of their game-based information with us, with anyone who's interested. But going through the teacher certification program was wonderful for me because it got me in a room with a bunch of other people who wanted to do the same thing I did, and we just brainstormed and came up with really fun, really nice ways to share the game of golf in a young way. And so we go, and we generally will go to a soccer field or a football field, and we'll set up a little thing, and we'll bring limited flight balls with us, and they try to hit them as far as they possibly can, and they have contests to see who could hit it the furthest. And the truth of the matter is, it brings them outside into the fresh air, away from the pressures of homework. Because children from the age of kindergarten now go home with homework. I went home with finger paint on my hands. They go home with homework now. It's a very different world. And so we try to go and show them that there's a way to be out and having fun and being with other kids that doesn't necessarily mean they have to be running and they have to be sweating or they have to be physically in contact with one another. We see more autistic children than we've ever seen before. As a rule, autistic children do not like to be touched. Golf is a really good, quiet-minded sport for an autistic child. It gives them a voice. And so we do this constantly. We start in the spring, and then we continue right through. They graduate at the end of May, early June, and then we try to go back again in early fall. And then every March, we hold a junior golf kickoff day. That this should be a joyful experience for them, and we try to bring that immediately to them so that they can run over to grandma or grandpa, because most of them have parents or grandparents or aunts or uncles who play. So they can't wait to say, I now know how to play golf, and I'm going to beat you. And it's a wonderful thing to watch a 3-year-old run up to an 85-year-old woman and, you know, I dare you to beat me on a putting green. It's a cool thing, and that comes from being in the school and putting yourself out there.
That's great, thank you. One of our staples in our golf shop is Don Law's book on games that plays with the kids. Since the Druid Hills has gone to game-based learning, you know, the parents initially don't understand what's going on, and because it doesn't look like instruction, but the kids are loving it and begging to do it some more. Don, can you talk to that a little bit?
Sure can. A lot of that came about through our education of just working with kids. We were one of the first facilities to really welcome kids, and we started out at a certain age, and pretty soon it got lower and lower. And as all that stuff was transpiring, all of you who teach know that you're really learning. We all know that. They started telling us and showing us what they were interested in. So a big part of the game-based learning and the books and so forth was us simply listening to the kids. Most of those games, they invented, or they at least modified. If you've got the 25 games, you've really got 100, because every kid has a different idea on how that game should work out. So I think reaching these kids and bringing them into the game and everything, we had a little conversation, Brendan and I, at lunch there, and Jeff, about what age is appropriate, when are they too young? Well, children are learning machines. There's absolutely nothing wrong with their learning. Sometimes the way things are being presented to them could have a fault. I've been guilty. We probably all have. It's what we say to them and how we get it to them. We have to be in their world. Their world is game, fun, activity. A little example, we used to do at summer camp, we had a deal, they would do things all week, and then on Friday we'd have a little skills test, and John would have a team, and Kurt would have a team, and everybody would have a team, and your team would play that team, and we would do some points and things. And then the way that thing would end up, at the end of it, we had all the water balloons prepared, and we had a big circle on the range. So the deal was, if you lost, you had to get in the circle, and everybody got to water balloon you. And then 1 week after the thing started, they came, they said, well, we love the game, and it's fun, but we want to choose if we're in the circle or out of the circle. Oh. So they wanted to be in. They wanted to get hit with the balloons if they won. So on our part, we adapt. We listen, and it was a big thing for them. So getting into their world is really what makes all this click.
Yeah, it's interesting, the parallel, from the adult mind, and you trying to impose what's fun to them when it's got to be from them to us. Mm-hmm. Jeff, would you talk to us about the Take It to the Course initiatives that we've done here?
Yeah. We thought about some ideas what would help us get kids interested besides the games. I mean, it was kind of before we got involved with the games and stuff. But I was like, Chad, we need to take them on the golf course and just get them out there, expose them to the course. Even if they don't really know their swing that great, let's make them play some golf. And a great story, this was about three summers ago. It was about 95 degrees, August, and I've got a 30-minute lesson with one of our kids. He's 5 years old. His name is Oscar, just a cute little blonde-headed, blue-eyed kid. Great kid, good little golfer. And they get there about 30 minutes early, so he's already sweating to death by the time they get over there. And I said, Oscar, you want to sit here and hit your driver for the next 30 minutes? And he said, no, sir, not really. I said, how about we go on the big course? He said, okay. So, of course, we have to go by the grill to grab a root beer and some goldfish. And then we go out on the golf course, and we don't have a tee time, so we have to sneak in between a few slow members. Luckily, there were a couple out there.
Lucky for you, not for...
For me, absolutely. Could have got you in trouble, but... So we end up on our par 5, number 14.
That's great.
And I look at his bag, and I didn't even think about it. He has 3 golf balls. So I'm like, all right, we should be able to handle this, except that there's a creek on the very first hole. So he hits his drive. He hits a great drive. Just smashes it about 65 yards. We get to the shot. Said, you want to tee it up? Sure, I'll tee it up again. So he tees it up, smashes it again, another 65 yards. Now, unfortunately, we're about 30 yards from that creek. And he was hitting a colored ball the whole time, and he said, give me one of those white balls. I said, why? He said, I don't want to lose my colored ball. But this white one's a $4 golf ball. So, he didn't care about that. He could have cared less that it was a Pro V1. First shot, hits it right in the water, tops it, goes in the water. And I was like, all right, let's go to the green. And he literally holds his hand out. I mean, I thought it was his tin cup. I was like, you serious? You want to hit again? Yeah, I do. I'm going to get it over. I said, you want the white one or the colored one? Well, I'm going to take the white one. He hits it again, pops it straight up, still went in the water. It's like, all right, let's go to the green. We've only got 1 ball left. And unfortunately, we have about 45 minutes left, so we can't lose this ball. He said, I was like, really? Yeah. So I give him the colored ball, and sure enough, if he doesn't just get over the creek, he gets it onto the green. And the fun has begun for him all of a sudden. And after that, well, I think we only played 3 holes. His mother texted me later that night, and she said, Oscar is still talking about playing. He's just going, he's off the wall tonight. I said, yeah, it's because he drank a 20-ounce root beer, not because But to me, that was kind of the beginning of, okay, I know we're doing the right thing when a 5-year-old can get on the golf course and really have fun as a beginner. A couple of things that we talk about, routine, and I try to keep it real simple with them. I'll have them pick out a target, and I want them to point the club at the target. Strategy. You see that big bunker there? Do we want to hit it there? No, we want to hit it over there to the left or short of it.
That all kind of lends itself to what Stuart was talking about earlier, learning to play the course. What initially was, golf clinics on Tuesday through Friday, 6-7 months a year. We've converted 2 of the 4 to playing clinics, and there's no doubt if you pull those kids what they enjoy. And it's challenging to get them out on a golf course on a busy day and whatnot. But if you can figure out those ways around it, the value of the kids actually playing and feeling like they're really golfing instead of, and not to say there's a place for fundamentals on the driving range, but to actually play the game, they've just lit up to that.
A couple of things that if you do decide to get kids on the golf course, one of the ideas that I use all the time, I just try to tee off on number 10 before the first groups make the turn. So I'll have a kid out there Saturday and Sunday morning at 9:30, 9:45, and we're only playing 3-4 holes for an hour. But that's one time. Late in the afternoon, kind of before the work crowd gets off of work, and obviously when the kids are out of school. So those are a couple times to actually do it.
Okay. Talk to us a little bit about the balance of fundamentals and an enjoyment of the game, both very important to you. But how do you create the joy in learning when you're working with these kids?
I grew up in a pretty intense golf background. I'm daughter of 2 golf professionals. My mother played the LPGA Tour for a lot of years, and my dad's about a 60-something year member of the PGA too. So I was taught in a pretty traditional manner and by mostly male golf professionals. I was chatting with somebody about this last night, didn't really feel, back then we didn't really ask any questions because that would be challenging authority. So I teach very differently than that, and our learners today are very different, and the kids are expecting and receiving learning and information and evolving in a very different manner than we used to back in my day. So I feel like I have the strength of a very good technical background with lessons from some really great pros when I was growing up, and a pretty long playing career myself, and also this more modern, evolved way of teaching and coaching on a more balanced level in a more team environment between student and coach. So I really enjoy that, and kids enjoy the interaction and involvement in their own learning and creating ownership for their own learning too. So I think, I'm a never-ending learner. We're all learners here because we wouldn't be here otherwise. I learned so much from the panelists this morning in every division of what we're addressing today. So I'm always looking for new and innovative ways of knowing how people learn, knowing how young people learn, and involving all the sensory systems. I don't have any formal degrees in childhood learning or any of those academic areas, although I was a sociology major in school. So I have quite an interest in people. And it's just really fun for me as a coach to teach that way. And I've had good retention, excellent retention of my junior students over the years. I've started to adopt some games that we play, and I've been maybe a little bit of a late adopter in some of those techniques. Went to the U.S. Kids Certification Seminar last year, and looking forward to going to another one here in the future. But really keeping cutting edge and sharing on the Facebook pages of what people are doing and seeing all their photos and plugging those things into what I do as a coach. So hopefully that, yeah.
That's great.
Thank you, Chad.
The Brendan, my 5-year-old just went into kindergarten, but before that he was in daycare, and just loved Wednesdays because that was play ball day in the daycare. How do we bring golf into that environment? How receptive, does the golf professional or the program manager need to reach out? And how has the reception been when you make that step?
I think one of the barriers that a lot of instructors or PGA professionals have in their mind is this is something that's more difficult than it really is going to be. And we just went to the daycares and asked them, would you be interested in us having a program here? And they said, absolutely, let's give it a try. So it's really that simple, just going out to your local daycares, after-school programs at churches, wherever kids go after school. Most of them will be very, very receptive as long as you have good liability coverage. But it's really that simple.
Back to one of the questions that we had listed was, how do we bring golf to the people versus bringing people to golf? We take it for granted at the golf clubs and golf courses that our clientele is going to show up every day. What are the best ways to penetrate into the market, the kids that aren't golfing? What is the best way to get out there to them? And open that up to anybody.
Chad, that's a fastball down the middle. Thank you. I really believe that the schools are the way to do it. We have, as a manager for 30-something years, the value of having the right team working with you is just, you just have to have that to be successful. And I've had teams that weren't all together, but when you have a team of teachers that are already trained to teach children and teach sports, if you can provide them with the equipment, the curriculum, and a safe, friendly, fun environment, and watch them run with it, just as a manager, you give them the tools to succeed and let them go, we're going to reach thousands and hundreds of thousands and literally millions of children that we would never, ever, ever reach. So the reason that the golf and school program became my mission in life was because I pictured this. I saw the opportunities and possibilities, and now to see it coming to be coming to bear, the fruit is bearing. It's unbelievable. And so to me, the best avenue to reach children is in a school environment, because that's where they all go anyhow. And we also do homeschools and do private, it's not just the public arena, it's the whole gamut. Kids are receiving schooling somewhere, and golf is a part of it. It's just a wonderful gift to them. And so that's the commitment that I've really made, is to try to share the story and build a team and allow the people to use their creativity. That's what you hear. You hear it all the time. Once a teacher knows the hows of it, their creativity is endless. And then the kids, the games they come up with in the school environment using all the solid golf fundamentals are phenomenal. And so I think that's my home run, I hope. I think that's where you go.
How comfortable am I to allow somebody else to teach who's not a PGA professional? What would you say, I guess this would be the curveball, would the teachers of the younger children, are they better trained to teach these kids at this age and these quantities and sizes as compared to the average golf professional?
First, I think the threat to a PGA professional, thinking they're the only ones that can teach, was that part of the first part? I think with the involvement of the LPGA and the PGA as managers of schools and districts and working with the teachers, there's a partnership that's formed, and it's really, really positive. And so I see that as a deal. And as far as golf pros being the only ones that are capable of teaching golf, almost every sport, our children learn either in school or from a parent or in some environment other than with a professional instructor. Somebody said last night there's 500 kids at the swimming pool, and how many of them are with professional swimming coaches, before they go to the swimming pool. And but I do think that in the field of education, the teachers, they have a template in place for teaching people, understanding what's age appropriate, what's not, and they're a tremendous gift to us, because they become the farm system for the whole industry. And when we reach a child at 4, 5, and 6 years old, and they learn some fundamentals, they can spend the next 20 years doing whatever they want. But when they're 24, 25, 26 years old, they're going to play golf. And they're going to want to play golf, and they're going to remember how they put their hands on the club. And I love the in our programming, I love the age-appropriate approach. And obviously kindergartners play a lot of games, and they're moving around fast, and they go from station to station, and they're doing all kinds of activities and a lot of exciting things. But mixed in there are these fundamentals and these values and all the things that we just pray our kids will embody. So.
Would anybody else like to comment on those questions? Is it the sole responsibility, or should it be, of the golf professional? I understand there's a balance. How do the different panel members feel about kind of macro golf instruction in terms of the schools and whatnot?
Well, Chad, I think the overriding question is, what are you trying to accomplish? If we're trying, I had a nice talk with him last night, and we were talking about if everybody in this room went out and did everything they possibly could to grow the biggest junior program at your club or your community or whatever, you could make a small impact on our industry. When you start talking about going into school systems, which I don't know if you guys know Rick Grayson, but in Springfield, Missouri, they're in 100% of the school systems.
Oh, that's awesome.
Obviously, something there works, or they wouldn't be doing it. So if we're trying to get people exposed to our game at a very young age, where they can make a choice later how serious they want to be, or how much they want to work hard, or how professional they want their instruction, the overriding thing is, are they going to get to do something that's fun? And I think if you go through the school system, and by the way, I'd like to see a push from the national PGA, our executive officers. I'd like to see a push to get all this in schools at some point. Because look at all the other sports that the kids are exposed to versus ours. So when you're not a selection, it's hard for you to win the race.
By the time the kids are coming to golf, they may have drawn interest in something else in general.
Look at what the motocross and all did with the X Games. That thing exploded. They just changed the way it's done. Still riding motorcycles and all, but the kids are all over it.
Can I just add on to that a little bit?
Sure.
Baseball and soccer and basketball and swimming, they all recruit. They recruit kids. At every corner, you'll see a sign, join the basketball league, join the swimming league, join this league, join that league. Golf doesn't recruit. We're a word-of-mouth industry. And I think if we as professionals partner with parents in communities and with educators who are interested in being a part of this kind of a movement, it's an endless opportunity. I think it could explode very, very easily. But then, again, as Don says, what are we trying to accomplish? And then be prepared when you get there. Because you need to have a door to open to welcome them to walk through, or else you've opened the door, you've invited them, and now you've dropped the ball on them. So we have to go beyond just walking into the school and helping the teachers do that. We then need to have a farm system for the next steps for them that's viable, affordable, and available.
Well, it's interesting to think about a hyper demand, which would increase the supply of golf courses again, which turns the golf economy around. I mean, it's heading in a more positive direction than it has, but to really happen upon another boom era of golf, it would take that swell of, hey, mom and dad, take me to the golf course, but there's nowhere to play. So, that's all really exciting stuff. It also sounds like there needs to be a unified message coming out of this, which is probably the most challenging element of the bunch, is getting powers that be in a room and say, coming to a common purpose.
Chad, can I add something there?
Sure.
And I always approach, if I were approaching Chad Odell for him to invest a lot of money with an idea I have, he would probably ask me 3 questions. He'd ask, why this industry, why this program, and why now? And we all know the answers to those 3 questions, or at least I do from the program that we've been working on. The industry needs a shot in the arm. There's no doubt about it. You need a program that can be embraced by the vast majority of people, that reaches the masses. And why now? If we don't do it now, when? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's the way in business, I think, people approach issues with those 3 questions. And our industry, the great clubs are going to do great. But the overall industry, there's a lot of competition out there. Our game it takes a long time to play. It's sometimes real frustrating to learn. It's expensive. So we've got to do some things, be proactive. And so anyhow, that's a sidebar.
Sure. Hopefully this is a start. Questions for the panel, as well as instructional best practices that anyone might have. If you have a comment or statement, just raise your hand, and Mr. Tony Del Mastro will track you down.
Comment on the instruction in schools. We've done Teach the Teacher days, because all those PE teachers have to get certified credits, and they'll have those in-service days. And so you can create a day where you actually teach the teachers what to teach and how to teach, and you can communicate on the best way to teach those practices that you want to.
Gotcha. Lissa, when you've done that, do you reach out to them and create those educational opportunities for them? So kind of a proactive way to get those teachers involved?
Yes, we contact the PE teachers. We already do some in-school programs, and so they kind of have a network of themselves. So if you just create the day on the in-service days that the school system have already, and then they'll get the word around, and they'll come to, just have a central place and all the stuff there to teach with, then it's a great opportunity.
That's great. I imagine if you get those teachers excited about it, it probably just starts the ball rolling in their mind, right?
Some of the schools have already bought their own snack sets and things like that.
Right. Chad, That's a great point. Can I piggyback that a second? I guess, okay.
Sure.
Excuse me. Great point. In-service days are invaluable. This past Saturday morning in Omaha, Nebraska, I had 40 PE teachers who came in voluntarily for 4-hour training for golf in school. Went to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We had 27 teachers to do Riverside and Iowa City school districts. In Kansas City, we did the Liberty school districts with 7,000 kids. We did Liberty, St. Joe, Missouri, 8,000 kids. We trained 25 teachers, all within the last 3 weeks, really. And they use in-service days, to your point. And teachers invariably say, that was the best 4-hour in-service I've ever had because it was fun. And when they say that, you know they're going to make it fun for their kids. So, great point.
So that in-service day, that's a training day for teachers?
Yeah, teachers, generally, the school districts have 2 in-service days a year. I think that's pretty common throughout, one in the spring, one in the fall. And you get on the docket as if you have a program, and you go in and you can present it. Our schools are not charged anything. We do it through our foundation, so we provide all the equipment, curriculum, training, and follow-up. And so the teachers become certified, SNAG certified, and then we have PJ professionals and volunteer senior men and women who go into the schools and help the teachers, but we want them to own the program. We manage the program, they run the program.
Next question.
Being a physical education teacher here in Georgia for over 25 years, to piggyback earlier about the SNAG program, I think that definitely the PE teachers across the state would definitely be would benefit from having this program. It would also help the golf professionals because they're actually trained, as he said earlier, to handle 30-plus kids at a time for safety issues and all, where I know I take my child for golf lessons, her teaching pro, they panic sometime when there's 5 or 6 kids out there. So I think to introduce it to the kids, definitely the SNAG program is the way to go. And our school district is currently fixing to implement it for the first time this year.
That's great.
But I think that'll actually end up helping the local golf club because more kids will be interested, and those that have finally been introduced that really wants to pursue the game would then go seek further instruction.
What school district are you, just curious?
Burke County.
Well, there's no doubt that, some of the things that you guys do as teachers, as golf professionals, we could definitely learn from one another and have a service to offer each other and making us better at, more well-rounded. I'm one of those people too. Any more than 5 or 6, and I'm just waiting for some kid's head to get hit with a golf club. So, as far as expanding my horizons of knowing what's going on and how to handle those kids, that's really tough stuff. Compared to all this, that's really tough. But we appreciate you being here. Next question.
Yes, I'm in Cherokee County here in Georgia, and every school district I find is a little different. And over in Cherokee County, you really cannot go into schools and solicit your business there. Many places I've been in the past, you could basically go to the principal and he gives you free rein to put your information out in the school. Well, you can't do that in Cherokee, so I just decided to approach the school superintendent in Cherokee to try to develop some form of relationship at our club. And when I went in there, I found out they already had a partnership with the United States Tennis Association.
Sure, quick start.
We're talking about the United States Tennis Association. I'm just one golf club. So I'm thinking to myself, how is one golf club here going to handle 40 schools throughout the county? Can't do it. So I asked them, I said, well, can I see your partnership? So they showed it to me. And anyway, we have developed a partnership with them. And with that, we have piloted 2 elementary schools. We purchased the SNAG product, put in the schools. I've done in-service days with the PE teachers. gone out and helped the teachers implement the program. And it's just been a tremendous thing for us. Of course, we're using that to expose the kids, and then if they want to take their golf serious and go further, then they come to me, and we teach them there at the golf club. That's the way that we've got it set up. So what I'm saying here is the United States Tennis Association is way ahead of us when it comes to golf and getting these programs done. And I think there's a big opportunity for every golf course out there to get involved in the schools. I think you just have to go talk to people, find out what's available, what you can do in your county. And I think you'll find they're very receptive to you. They're dying for you to come in and help them learn golf. And as far as a teaching approach is concerned, I have no problems with teaching a PE teacher how to teach golf, especially if they're going to send golfers to me. So I'm more than happy to help them out and do the in-service days.
I tell you, what you took to make that happen, that's kind of what needs to happen in every county to get this ball rolling. I mean, that's really good stuff, but it makes you feel, a little dissatisfied that there's organizationally they're not there. Where's the golf? Where's the organizations representing golf? And so maybe that's us in this room. Maybe it starts here. Questions?
My name is Jeff Kaneko. I actually taught for Dave Pell's Golf for about 11 years, and I taught nothing but adults basically for 11 years, taught nothing but the short game, and got into teaching at a new club when I was with Canongate, and all of a sudden I've got nothing but kids now. And it's great. Started a program where the instructor was doing about 3 lessons a week, and I'm doing probably 75 lessons a week now. It's just one of these things where, it's really just opened my world. But this whole concept I'm hearing great things about the schools. I think there's obviously a positive approach to take at it. I just want to know if there's any negative side. What have you had, like liability issues, things like that you run into? I mean, I always want to look. I got to protect myself, and I think all of us would like to do that too. But are there any downsides to or bad approaches that you've heard that don't work?
I can just speak to what I've seen, that kids have come to my outside after-school program from an in-school program. And we have some independent organizations in Arizona, independent companies teaching golf in schools. And just one thing I observed was that I think the kids were only permitted to hit a ball off a very high tee in the one particular school, and I saw a lot of kids, and I can't really tag where this originated or for sure if it was due to the instruction they received, but hanging back and staying way back on their back foot. And I saw some fundamentals that I thought could been very easily solidified even in a school setting. And it may be due to the fact that they were trying to lift the ball up in the air, whether it be inside in a gym or what, but those things are pretty easy. Maybe the instruction was less skilled than it possibly could have been. I don't know. That's just what changing some habits.
Obviously, PGA professionals hopefully would be a little bit more.
And I would be happy to help some PE teachers with some simple golf cues. I call it cueing, and I think I learned that I used to take a lot of yoga classes, and I had some, I call it positive cueing. I don't know if that's any official term, but in golf, and historically we've told kids or people what not to do, but driving the bus where we want to go, so to speak, with the instruction always positively. So
kids might not have ever came to you if they didn't start in school.
Exactly.
So we have to start somewhere, and if, there's liabilities with all the sports. And obviously, kids have to sign liability forms for every sport that they play. Mm-hmm. But again, if we don't, as a group, look to what you're saying about the schools and what's happening in Cherokee County. I mean, years ago when we were with the Georgia Golf Junior what was that? What was it called back then? When I was president of the Georgia Junior Golf Foundation, we actually there was a grant program that you could apply, a school could apply for a grant, and a PGA professional would go into the schools and teach the PE teachers, and we brought clubs and balls and stuff like that. So, and that, I'm not sure what happened to that program. I'm pretty sure it started with the PGA. And, right. Right. So again, there's a problem, but there's a huge problem if we don't look to the schools. We're trying to start in Atlantic Public Schools with Daryl Beatty. We're trying to get that program going, and you know, my foundation is helping with that by providing some equipment, but it has to start somewhere. We have to start in those environments, and we'll get through the bumps because we're losing ground to all these other sports. So,
And definitely, Jackie, I didn't, compared to what schools can expose, we would never have enough time to do that. So I'm very grateful that the kids would be able to transition to an outdoor facility. Definitely, I think it's amazing what you all are doing. I'm very respectful of that, yeah.
Excuse me, you go ahead.
For some of us, being in the school itself might be overwhelming.
Exactly.
Then that may not be the venue for you. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, smaller groups that are organized already, find them, seek them. They're always looking for things for their kids to do that can keep them together. And so if you go to a Girl Scout council and sit with them and explain to them what you can bring them, you would be surprised at how receptive they could be. Oftentimes, being in a classroom with 40 kids and doing 6 classes in a day is more time than a lot of us have to give in a day, and be sometimes a little overwhelming for us. So a smaller environment of 15 or 20 kids might be the best way for us. There are a lot of avenues to get to the same point. If we take them all, I think we'll have a better opportunity of making a larger impact over time.
Intrinsic value, growth of the game, all of that. What is the best way? It sounds like if there's so much, if there's untapped demand for this, it seems like there would be monetary compensation for those willing to take the time to do that. Is there a shortage of golf professionals or folks willing to get out there in the schools and?
Younger professionals see that investment of time on that day as there's no return on their personal compensation that day. Whereas we in this room see that a little differently. That investment of time that day is our compensation down the road. Because if we don't do something about this, we're going to lose a huge opportunity down the road. And many of us are not close to retirement. And all of those younger professionals who are aspiring to be a part of this industry really need to do the things that are going to create the future for it. And so it has to be presented in a way that, no, I'm not going to pay you $500 to go into that school today, but look at all that could happen down the road as a result of it. And if you could change one life, all it takes is one little child to draw a picture and bring it to you, and you're hooked. That's all it takes. Anybody at this panel ever have that happen?
Recently, I started the reasons why they felt the need to bring me on was teaching other professionals, whether they're coming through the PGM program or what have you, they need to know how to be comfortable teaching our children. And so this is something for the past year that I've been doing with the students of the Golf Academy, and all they have to do is have that kid hit a shot really, really good for that one time and look up at him with the big bright eyes, and that's all it takes to get these instructors comfortable, but to grow the game from many different segments and possibilities.
So the first golf lesson I ever gave was in Nashville, and a young lady came out to the range and hit some, it was her very first time at the golf course, and in 1 hour of instruction, she never got the ball in the air, and she walked away frustrated, and I felt like the worst golf professional ever. Can you guys speak to the difficulty of this game and what each of you feel might be the way to kind of break through some of that? I mean,
go ahead, Don.
I feel like I'm monopolizing, but right to your story, another story. I had the privilege to go to a little town of Heston, Kansas, and to teach the teachers in this small school district and the Parks and Rec people, the YMCA people. And it was a typical little town in Kansas, and the PE teacher in the gym had a bunch of kindergartners in the gym, and they were bouncing around, and she was, describe her, she was just a very professional, beautiful woman, inside and out, tremendously athletic. She walked out of that gym, and after her class ended, the kids went on to their next deal, and we were going to our PowerPoint presentation. I'd never met this young lady, and she said, I hate golf. I hate golf, and you're going to expect me to teach golf. And I said, come watch the PowerPoint. We're going to come back in the gym and work for a couple hours. And so she saw the PowerPoint, and after the PowerPoint was over, we were going back to the gym. I said, why do you hate golf? And what happened? She says, well, I was an All-American third baseman at Fort Hays Scott. I can play any athlete, any sport there is. And she said, they asked me to teach golf when I was a senior in college, and I tried to teach it, and I was a failure. It was awful. I couldn't do it. It was terrible. Well, she had a curriculum, a program, and the equipment to teach it. And when we finished that training, we were about two-thirds of the way through the training, this woman put on a clinic, and she looked like Susie Whaley playing golf. I mean, she started whacking snag golf balls from the corner of the gym to the top of the other corner of the gym with about 20 people watching, and she turned to me with a big smile and said, I love golf. Now, in that school, in that district, there'll be about 600 kids that will be impacted by her, and I think that kind of addresses a little bit of what you said. But back to liabilities, I want to just 2 points on liabilities that I've noticed. One is school districts are reluctant to have golf professionals or anybody come into the school with real clubs, because unless you have a really, really solid program, it's dangerous. They're weapons, and they can be swung around in stitches and everything. So there are some programs that work, but a lot of districts in Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, I've noticed, won't even talk to you. So by using the safe stuff, which is the snag stuff, we're able to do that. And then to address the fundamentals of losing balance or the poor technique, I think it's really important that as industry leaders, golf professionals, the teachers be trained in a way where they understand simply what needs to be accomplished with the 4 basic strokes, and they know exactly how to do it, and the support of the PGA professional or the LPGA professional and the volunteer as backup for them is really, really important, because we want it done with excellence. And I think that's the only way it's going to work. I said it earlier, what brings people back to golf is hitting the ball solid. Mm-hmm. If they hit it solid, they're hooked. They're going to come back. So
we got to look at this sport compared to another sport. I go and take a basketball lesson because I like to watch, and it's pretty fun. I want to try it. So I've dribbled around a little bit, and I can dribble a little bit. They say, okay, now this is the portion where we start dunking. Okay, Don, you go first. What's the rate or the opportunity for any success there, right? I'm going to hate it immediately. So in our game, the day you start, you are measured against this standard of par. As coaches, we need to change par drastically. I'm lucky enough to be at a facility that's government-owned. It's Palm Beach County. It's 27 holes, public facility, affordable golf, phenomenal facility. Guess who else is playing the 8-inch cups?
The ladies and the men.
Some other people, maybe a shaving division. But they feel welcome, and it's a statement. Come try our game. We'll make it so you can have a good time at it, and it's appropriate. Us putting everybody up against our standards is really tough.
For lack of a better word.
Donna, did you want to mention anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. A couple of quick points just on how to make it more enjoyable and get people involved from our standpoint. I think we use a quick progression with the kids. I'm pretty exclusive with the 2-year-olds with the littlest golfer set. They have molded grip technology, very light clubs. You're seeing them set the clubs at the top, and then we progress into U.S. Kids. We use snag, but from littlest golfer to snag, then to U.S. Kids, we use birdie ball, so you're going from the tee on the lunch pad on snag down to the birdie ball board, where they're learning how to hit down and pop it up, and they love it. You add a metal trash can to that game called Smash the Trash, and you have them out there for a long time. They love the noise. So from birdie ball then to some tall rough, where they have a little bit of leverage, and from the rough to the fairway. So there's a progression there, and guess what? It works with adults too, other than the Littlest Golfer Club or U.S. Kids. But we also use tennis and throwing. Obviously, other sports, we're trying not to build just a golfer, but we want to build an athlete. We want to build a person who can go through some fundamental skill movement and, work a little bit on athletic movement. So there are so many ways to engage kids and adults as well, too. We use a system as well called Tag Teach. If you've not looked that up, I think you should. It's really great. It's basically just a little clicker. It provides positive reinforcement, and Tag Teach is a really great way and a fun way. And when the kids can stand there and tag you, they click. When you do it right, they know what you're supposed to be looking for. So then they can do it to each other. And now you have a class of 36 kids. You partner them up. 12 are teachers, 12 are students, and then you rotate after 3 shots. That's a very easy way to keep them engaged. You will need 2 minutes of time to where they all go through the clicker first, because it's very noisy. Then they'll come back. And the last thing I learned from U.S. Kids, which I've really incorporated very well, Positive Coaching Alliance, we use mistake rituals. We just had a sports psychologist in, Dr. Rob Bell. His main question, why can't we let mistakes go? Why can't we let them go on the course, And adults, I think the nonverbal body behavior they pass down to the kids, that a mistake is a very bad thing. So we use a lot of PCA. We try to do a lot of mistake rituals, brush it off, flick it away. The kids come up with their own. So I think that's something that I learned. And lastly, instead of having a goal, I do a goal window. So instead of saying you need to hit 3 balls in a row to the fairway, how about we get 3 out of 5? Soften the goal. Make it a wider goal. As they get better, you can always narrow it down. So I think that goes true with any golfer. And you can have them make it. What do you think you should get? Oh, they come up with their own number. So let them be a part of the learning and a part of the process.
That's excellent.
Yes, I love that sound and that smiley face you have on.
Put faces on them. Like
Exactly.
if you can take faces of the teachers and put them on the garbage cans, the kids go wild.
They do. We spray painted ours.
We do. We put our pictures on them, and it's like, we're going after Miss Donna today.
One of the bigger influences on my teaching career has been Manuel de la Torre, and I think that, I know there would be, I probably wouldn't be where I am today without him, his influence. And it's gone over into how I teach kids, teaching them from a very small motion all the way up to bigger. I think I was taught personally from the driver on down, so my dad had a little different philosophy, hit it far and then learn how to do the short game later. So I do things a little differently now, but even a 5-year-old kid, when he or she brushes the grass with an iron or clips the tee with a very small tee, they're going to learn how the ball gets up in the air. And they learn balance to hold their finish, whether it be a tiny swing or a bigger swing. So evolution from a very small motion, awareness of the sound, the feel, the sight, all their senses are engaged, and they can repeat that back to me. I have them be the coach. A lot of those techniques Nicole has mentioned about engaging and owning, the child owning their own learning. So I'll give them a few cues, let them observe what happens. Did you do A and B? There's not really a judgment, it's more fact. If I do A plus B, then the outcome is C. So, and then the kids can go and share that with their parents, and the parents really like to see that their kids have taken away something from the lesson. So, and knowing that it's okay to go small, there's no judgment on that you have to get to a certain swing size in a certain period of time. Everybody evolves at a different rate, and they have a very safe environment in which to discover and learn and share together. So it's been very successful for me.
Jeff, if you've ever seen Jeff around this golf course with the kids, he's like the Pied Piper. And he'll have a line of 10 to 14 kids following him around, like they're possessed.
Jedi mind tricks.
Tell us what the secret is to, your kids that you work with, keeping them engaged and having fun.
I actually like to use a lot of words like dude, man, fun words with kids.
Dude and man? Put that on
I
the
really
record.
do. Like with the little kids, the 6, 7, 8-year-olds, I'm always calling them something silly. I like to come up with nicknames. Probably the best nickname we came up with this summer was in a camp. One of the kids, he took 4 water breaks in about a 10-minute span. Well, he became water break, and the kids loved it. And the whole day, the rest of the day was kids were saying, "What's my new nickname? What's my new nickname?" And honestly, I couldn't think of anything until they did something that created a nickname for them. So I think just getting on their level. A simple thing when you start a lesson with a younger kid, I kneel down. I get on their eye level. I think they always appreciate that. Most of the time, the 5, 6-year-olds are a little nervous when they first come to you. And if you get down to them and give them 5 and, just be silly with them. That's the main thing. Just be silly, get on their level, and I don't know why I have an easy time to do that, but I guess I do.
You're an overgrown 7-year-old like I am.
So, I think everyone on this panel is kind of like that.
All right, folks, that's the conclusion of our panel, instructional panel. Thank you very much for your input. Very good stuff.
Don't fall.